So here's my question. Can the Trump administration actually work in the America that we now live in? And is there a real possibility that if maybe they actually work together, we could do some good in this country? Good evening.
Hi, Rob. Well, you'll remember in the first Trump administration, there were issues like criminal justice reform where Democrats were involved and they did work together. There were a lot of issues where they didn't work together. It's a lot of animosity. I think that the magnitude of the presidential election results are going to play a role. It's clear that the Democrats realize that the goal of just criticizing President Trump and talking about what a bad person they think he is and all of his personal flaws has not worked for them, did not work for them. And I think that there will be a renewed interest in seeking issues that are going to reach that portion of the electorate that the Democrats have lost, which has been talked about ad nauseum for the past 2 months. The working class voters, like the people of Western Pennsylvania. And I do think there is an opportunity for both the Democrats and the Republicans to work together. And in Congress, both the House and the Senate have tight margins, the House in particular, and that forces you to work together. The 60 vote margin for the filibuster in the Senate forces issues to gain consensus. You have to get 7 Democrats if you keep all the Republicans. So I do think that, not on everything, but I bet you there's going to be a few issues where you do see bipartisanship.
All right, I have to ask you the big story again, and I know we've talked about it in the past, but I just can't stop talking about it, and that's the Nippon Steel U.S. Steel deal. Both are saying they'll block it. Look, the last thing we need is losing any more jobs. And when you're talking about $1 billion going into the Mon Valley, you know this turf. You grew up here. That could sure be a bright spot as far as the future is concerned in places like Braddock and beyond. So what do you think's eventually going to happen here? And do you really think there's a real possibility that Joe Biden, our president, would block this deal in the next couple of days?
I do. I do think that he could. President Trump, he was neutral to kind of agnostic on it for a long time, but he has recently, as you're aware, come out and said that he would block it. So I do think President Biden, in the few weeks that he has left, has a decision to make, but he has not been supportive of the concept of it. And you're right, it does have a very regional impact in Western Pennsylvania and in other parts of the country like Indiana. But I think looking at just the concept for a guy like Joe Biden, who was first elected to public office in 1972, remembers when Japan was our number one trading adversary. We talk about China now. Back in the 1980s, we used to talk about Japan and the negative aspects of their economic agenda. And President Biden from that world. So I do think there's a chance that he will. And of course, he's very pro-labor. And you know where labor is on the issue. So President Trump's been very clear what will happen if it's not passed within the next 5 weeks. And I would suspect President Biden's going to hold firm.